Weeks passed since the sky had sung and the stars had answered. Earth was no longer just a planet. It was a crossroads, a meeting place for humans, and the silver-skinned people of Xylos, who now called themselves the Keepers of Memory. Lysa walked through the new settlement near the old observatory where it all began. The air smelled of rain and blooming night flowers brought from Xylos by the Queen's botanists. Children ran between the low domes, laughing in two languages, their eyes sometimes flickering violet when they dreamed. She was no longer just a xenolinguist. She was a bridge. Every morning she met with the Queen not in war rooms but in gardens where they shared tea made from earth herbs and Xylosian star blossoms they spoke of, laws of trade, of shared history, and of the children who were already blending both worlds in their games and songs. But not all was peaceful. Deep in the Pacific Trench, the sunken city still pulsed with energy, too strong for most to approach only. Elena and a few others could go near it without their minds unraveling. The city was not just a relic, it was alive and it was waiting. One evening, Elena returned to the surface pale and trembling. She found Lysa by the river where the water glowed. Faintly from the residual chorus it spoke to me. Elena whispered not in words but in feelings. It said, "The heart of the old ones is still sleeping beneath Antarctica. Lysa's blood ran cold, the creators had left. But something older remained. Something that had watched even them." She contacted Mara and Jake at once. Within hours, a small team gathered in the command dome built over the lunar grid. Now linked to Earth's network, Mara pulled up scans of Antarctica. Not the ice, but what lay beneath, miles of rock and time. "There it is," Jake said, pointing to a shape that should not exist, a perfect sphere. 10 miles wide, humming at a frequency that matched the chorus. "But darker, colder. It is not a machine," Mara said softly. "It is a seed of what?" Lysa asked of the first song. Elena replied, her voice hollow, "The one before silence, the one that made everything." They knew they had to go. The Queen offered her fastest ship. But Lysa shook her head. "This is human ground," she said. "We must face it ourselves." So, they went in a small Earth-made vessel retrofitted with awakened tech. The hull lined with memory thread that responded to thought, the engines powered not by fuel, but by shared willas. They flew south. The ice below stretched endless and white, but the closer they got, the more the ship groaned, as if the air itself resisted them. When they landed, the wind died. The cold vanished, replaced by a strange warmth rising from the ground. They walked in silence, boots crunching on snow that melted where they stepped at the center of the ice field. A circle of black stone stood uncovered, though no one had dug it up. It had risen on its own in the middle of the circle. A door waited. Not metal, not wood, but something like solidified shadow. Lysa placed her hand on it. Instantly her mind filled with a presence vast and ancient. Not angry, not kind, just waiting. "Who are you?" she thought. "We are the echo." The voice replied. The first note. The silence after the song. The question. Before the answer. "Why are you?" "Here to see if you are ready for what to carry the song forward, not as slaves, not as gods, but as singers." The door opened. Inside was not a chamber but a sky. A swirling cosmos of light and sound where stars were born and died in seconds. In the center floated a single object, a crystal teardrop identical to the memory key the Queen had given Lysa, but this one pulsed with raw creation. Jake reached for it, but Mara pulled him back. "Wait, it will test us." Lysa stepped forward alone. The moment she touched the crystal, the world dissolved. She saw the birth of galaxies, the rise of the creators, the scattering of humanity, the long sleep, the awakening, and then something new. A future where humans and keepers built schools on dead moons, healed broken worlds with song, and taught the young to ask why instead of obey. But she also saw the cost to carry the song, meant to bear its weight forever, to never again be just human. She looked back at her friends, their faces full of trust. She made her choice accept, she said. The crystal merged with her chest, not painfully, but like coming home. Light exploded from the circle, not blinding, but revealing back at the settlement. People stopped what they were doing and looked south. They felt it too, the shift, the joining. The Queen stood on her balcony and smiled, tears like liquid silver tracing her cheeks. She knew what had happened. Lysa returned alone. The others stayed below to guard the threshold. When she reached the settlement, children ran too. Her not afraid but curious. One small girl touched Lisa's hand and her eyes glowed violet for just a moment. Lisa knelt and whispered to her. Remember that night the chorus changed. It was no longer just a call to awaken. It was a lullaby for the universe, a promise that the song would continue. In the weeks that followed, Lisa began to teach not with words but with presence. She walked among cities and villages, and every person she met carried away a piece of the song. Scientists found new ways to grow, food using harmonic frequencies. Artists painted with light that changed with emotion. Doctors healed not just bodies but memories, and far below the ice. The door remained open, guarded by those who understood silence was not empty, but full of potential. Queen visited often, but she no longer gave orders. She listened one evening as they sat under the twin moons. Lisa asked, "Do you think they are proud of us?" The Queen looked at the stars and nodded. "They are not watching from afar anymore. They are in every note we sing." Lisa smiled and closed her eyes. The song played on, not loud, not grand, but steady, and in that steadiness the galaxy found its true voice. Humans were no longer lost, they were home, and they would never stop singing. The dark ships hung above Earth like storm clouds heavy with judgment. But the humans below did not cower. They stood together, eyes glowing violet, hands, linked hearts, beating in time with the chorus that rose from ocean and mountain, city and field. Lisa felt the shift in the air, not fear but power. Old power waking up in every cell of her body. She looked up as the first beam of silence struck the lunar shield again. This time, it did not just bounce off, it shattered into 1,000 echoes that rained down as silver light over the planet. Where the light touched awakened humans, their strength grew, their memories clearer, their voices stronger. Mara on the moon saw the data flash across her screen. The shield was not just blocking. It was learning, adapting, turning the enemy's weapon into fuel. Jake grinned and slammed his palm on the console. "Feed it back to them," he said. Mara nodded and reversed the polarity. A pulse of violet energy shot from the moon straight into the belly of the lead ship inside. The creators staggered for the first time in eternity. They felt pain not of the body but of the mind. The pain of being remembered. "You were our children," the lead creator whispered through the link. "But you were never meant to grow." "We grew anyway," Lisa answered, "and we brought friends." As if on cue, the sky tore open. Not with violence but with grace. The Queen's fleet emerged from folded space. Hundreds of silver vessels, shaped like falling leaves, their hulls singing the same harmonic frequency. As the chorus below, the alien queen herself stood on the bridge of her flagship, her eyes fixed on Earth. Her voice calm but firm. "You will not erase them again." The creators turned their ships toward the new threat. But the humans did not wait for rescue. Elena on the ocean floor raised her arms, and the water answered. Great columns of seawater rose into the sky, not as weapons but as bridges connecting Earth to the Queen's fleet. Awakened humans began to rise, not by machine, but by will, their bodies lifting gently into the air, drawn by the song in their blood. Lisa felt herself rise too, her feet leaving the ground as if gravity had decided she no longer needed it. She floated upward, meeting the Queen's ship halfway between Earth and sky. The hatch opened and the Queen stepped out onto the hull, her silver skin gleaming in Earth's reflected light. "You came," Lisa said. "I told you you were not alone." The Queen replied. Below them the battle changed. It was no longer about destruction, but revelation. The creators fired again, but this time their beams were caught in the web of water and light woven by human and alien hands, and redirected, not as attacks but as questions. Why did you fear us? Why did you hide the truth? Why did you think silence was safer than song? Each question struck the creators like a physical blow because they had no answer. Only shame. One by one, the dark ships powered down their weapons, not in surrender, but in sorrow. The lead creator appeared before Lisa and the Queen, not as a giant war machine, but as a small figure cloaked in shadow. "We tried to protect you," the creator said, its voice trembling. "We saw what your kind could do. We saw you build stars and unmake them. We saw you love so deeply you would burn galaxies for one another. We were afraid you would destroy everything, including yourselves, and you were wrong." Lisa said softly, "Love is not weakness. It is the strongest force in the universe. You tried to cut it out of us, But it grew back stronger. The creator bowed its head, perhaps. The queen stepped forward, her voice firm but kind. You are not our enemies, you are our makers, but you must stop playing God. The time of forgetting is over. The creator looked at the millions of humans floating in the sky, their eyes bright with memory, their hands open not in fists but in offering. Very well, the creator said. The great silence ends today. With those words, the last of the dark ships dissolved into light, not vanishing but transforming, becoming part of the chorus itself. Peace settled over the solar system. Not the peace of control, but the peace of understanding. Back on Earth, people slowly returned to the ground, their eyes still glowing but their hearts lighter. In the days that followed, humans and aliens worked side by side, repairing what had been broken. Not just machines, but trust. Jake and Mara helped integrate the lunar grid with the Queen's network, creating a new system that protected without imprisoning. Alina and the poets of both species began to write a new story, one that honored the past but did not hide from it. And Lisa stood often on that same hill looking up, not with fear but with hope. The Queen visited her one evening as the twin moons of Xylos rose in the sky. What? Now, the Queen asked. Now we build, Lisa said. We teach our children the truth. We explore not to conquer but to connect, and we never forget again. The Queen smiled and took Lisa's hand. This time Lisa did not hesitate to hold it tightly, together. They watched the stars not as strangers but as family. Far away in the deep void, the last echo of the Creator's fear faded into silence, replaced by the steady hum of a galaxy finally whole. And on Earth, in every home, in every heart, the chorus continued, not loud but constant, a reminder that they were never alone, never lost, never forgotten. The humans had returned, and this time they would stay. The violet light faded slowly from the room, leaving the 7 humans standing in silence, their eyes still glowing faintly like distant stars. Lisa looked around at the faces she knew so well, now changed yet still familiar. Mara, the quiet astronomer, clutched her chest as if her heart might burst from the weight of new memories. Jake, the engineer, ran his fingers over the walls of the observatory as if reading secrets hidden in the stone. And Elena, the poet, whispered words in a language that made the air hum. They all remembered, not just facts or images but feelings. The taste of alien fruits, the sound of twin suns rising over crystal oceans, the ache of loss when their true home was taken from them long ago. Lisa broke the silence. We have 2 days, she said, her voice steady. They are coming. Mara nodded, her eyes sharp with focus. I saw their path in the stars last night. They move like shadows between galaxies. They do not fly. They fold. Space Jake pulled a small device from his pocket. It had been in his workshop for years, a strange metal disc he never understood how to use. Now he knew it was a key. He held it up. This will open the vault beneath the old lunar base. Elena stepped forward, her voice soft but strong. The songs we used, to sing, they are weapons too. The right note can shatter a ship or heal a broken mind. The others exchanged glances, then nodded. They had no time for doubt, no room for fear. The memories inside them were real and urgent. They split into teams using the knowledge returned to them by the memory key. Mara and Jake would go to the moon to activate the ancient defense grid buried under regolith for thousands of years. Elena and 2 others would travel to the Pacific Trench, where a sunken city slept waiting for its children to return. Lisa would stay on the surface to coordinate and prepare Earth's final stanzas. They left the observatory. Dawn was breaking again, but this time the sky felt different, charged with energy as if the planet itself was waking up. Lisa contacted the United Earth Council using a frequency only the old ones would recognize within minutes. A response came not from politicians, but from soldiers, scientists, and pilots who had also felt the call in their dreams. They had been waiting to be midday. Hidden bases around the world began to power up, machines that had not moved in centuries. Towers rose from deserts, domes opened in jungles and deep beneath the ice of Antarctica. A great eye blinked online. Meanwhile, on the moon, Jake and Mara landed their small craft near a crater that looked ordinary to any observer. But to them, it pulsed with invisible energy. Jake placed the disc on the ground and spoke a single word in the old tongue. The earth shook, a massive, Hatch opened, revealing a spiral staircase that glowed with soft blue light. They descended quickly, the air growing warmer, the walls humming with power at the bottom. They found a control room filled with consoles that lit up as they approached. Mara sat at the main station, her fingers flying over symbols that felt like old friends. She linked the lunar grid to Earth's awakening network and activated the shield. A shimmering dome of light spread across the planet, invisible to human eyes, but strong enough to stop a meteor or a warship back on Earth. Lisa stood on a hill overlooking the ocean. She wore a simple suit, now woven with threads that responded to thought it had been in her closet for years, labeled as costume jewelry. She finally understood it was armor. Her comm beeped. It was Elena. "We found the city," she said. "The water parted for us like it remembered our names." "Good," Lisa replied. "Activate the chorus." A moment later, a low tone began to rise from the ocean, not loud but deep enough to be felt in the bones of every living thing on Earth. Birds fell silent. Dogs stopped barking. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. The chorus was not music. It was memory, made sound. A call to all humans with the old blood to rise and remember. In cities and villages, people stopped what they were doing, clutching their heads as flashes of another life rushed in. Some wept, some laughed, some ran toward the nearest gathering point, their eyes glowing violet. The United Earth Council tried to issue warnings, but their signals were drowned out by the chorus. It was not a threat. It was an invitation, and Earth answered. By nightfall, over 2 million people had awakened, their eyes shining with the light of forgotten stars. They formed circles in parks, on rooftops, in empty fields, holding hands and sharing memories, rebuilding their unity. One heartbeat at a time, Lisa watched from her hill as the sky above began to ripple. "They are here?" she whispered. High above the atmosphere, 3 massive ships appeared, not made of metal but of something darker, something that drank the light around it. They hung in silence like judges waiting to pass sentence. The lead ship opened a channel, not with sound but with thought. "You were told to stay small," the voice said, cold and ancient. "You were given peace. Why do you reach for fire again? Because fire is ours?" Lisa answered, her voice carried by the chorus and echoed by millions. Below, the ship pulsed with anger. "You will burn. Then let us burn bright," Lisa said. The battle did not begin with weapons but with will. The lunar shield flared as the alien ships fired beams of pure silence meant to erase thought itself, but the shield held, strengthened by the chorus below. Jake and Mara worked furiously, rerouting, power-feeding Earth's song into the grid. The ocean floor, Elena stood in the heart of the sunken city, her arms raised as she sang a note so pure it cracked the hull of the nearest ship on. The surface humans with awakened blood reached out with their minds, not to attack but to remember who we are. The chorus sang, "Remember what you tried to bury." For a moment the dark ships hesitated. Inside them the creators felt something they had not felt in eons: doubt. They had shaped humanity to be gentle, obedient, quiet, but they had forgotten one thing. Fire cannot be tamed. It can only be respected, and humanity was fire. Lisa closed her eyes and sent one final message. Not to the enemy, but to the Queen. Light years away, we are ready, far away. On her silver throne, the Queen smiled and activated her own fleet, hidden for centuries in the rings of a dead star. The real war was just beginning. But for the first time in 10,000 years, humans were not alone, and they would not be forgotten again. The cold metal floor of the observation chamber pressed against Lisa's boots as she stood frozen in place, her breath shallow, her heart hammering against her ribs. The alien Queen loomed before her, tall and regal, her skin shimmering like liquid silver under the dim lights of the ship. Her eyes glowed a soft violet, and her long fingers wrapped tightly around Lisa's wrist. Not painfully, but with a firmness that left no room for escape. Lisa had been part of the first human delegation sent to the star system of Xylos. After a mysterious signal had been detected from deep space, the message had been simple, a single repeating phrase in perfect English: "Come and see what you have forgotten." The United Earth Council had debated for weeks, before finally sending a small unarmed vessel with 5 volunteers. Lisa, a xenolinguist, had been chosen for her calm demeanor and quick mind. But nothing in her training had prepared her for this. The alien Queen tilted her head, her expression unreadable, yet strangely tender. "You are afraid." she said, her voice smooth like water flowing over glass. Lisa swallowed hard and nodded slightly. Yes, she whispered. The Queen's grip softened, but she did not let go instead. She leaned closer, her breath warm, against Lisa's cheek. Why won't you touch me, human? She asked again, her voice now laced with something that sounded almost like sorrow. Lisa blinked, confused. I don't understand, she said. The Queen stepped back just enough to look Lisa fully in. The eyes for generations my people have waited for you. She said, your kind vanished from the stars long before we learned to speak your language. We found your ruins, your songs, your broken ships scattered across dead worlds we thought you were. Gone forever. Lisa frowned. That doesn't make sense. Humans have never left this solar system until now. The Queen's eyes flickered with something like pain. Then you do not remember, she said softly. No, you would not. The great forgetting was part of the design. Lisa's mind raced. What design? Who designed it? Before the Queen could answer, the chamber doors hissed open, and two tall alien guards entered, their armor gleaming, their faces hidden behind smooth masks. They bowed deeply to the Queen and spoke in a language that sounded like wind through crystal trees. The Queen released Lisa's wrist and turned to them, her posture stiffening. They say the council grows impatient. She told Lisa they fear your presence will awaken the old ones. The old ones, Lisa asked. The ones who made us both. The Queen replied, her voice dropping to a whisper. The ones who shaped your blood and mine, and then erased themselves from history. Lisa felt a chill crawl up her spine. She had studied ancient myths from every human culture, stories of sky gods, creators who came from the stars and left behind strange artifacts, but she had always dismissed them as folklore. Yet here she stood, light years from Earth, facing a being who spoke of shared origins as if it were common knowledge. Why show me this now? Lisa asked. Because you are the first human to return with open eyes, the Queen said, turning back to her. The others who came before were hollow shells, their minds scrubbed clean by the silence between stars, but you still dream in color, you still feel the pull of the unknown. Lisa remembered her childhood dreams, vivid, impossible things. Flying cities, oceans of light, voices calling her name in languages she did not know at the time. She had thought them just fantasies, but now, the Queen reached out again, this time not to grab but to offer her palm up. Waiting, Lisa hesitated, then slowly raised her own hand and placed it against the Queen's skin. The moment their palms touched, a surge of images flooded Lisa's mind. Vast cities built on rings around black holes, forests that sang in harmonic frequencies. Children with silver eyes and human faces laughing under twin suns, and then darkness. A great silence, a command whispered across. Galaxies forget. Forget? She gasped, pulling her hand back, tears streaming down her face. What was that? Or shared memory? The Queen said softly. The truth buried in your DNA, waiting for the right key to unlock. Lisa wiped her eyes, her mind reeling. But one question burned brighter than all the others. Why erase us? Why make us forget who we really are? The Queen looked away toward the chamber's transparent wall, beyond which the endless void of space stretched into infinity. The creators feared what we might become, she said. They saw the fire in your kind, the hunger to build, to explore, to challenge even the gods, so they scattered you across the galaxy and wiped your memories, hoping you would stay small and safe. But we weren't safe, Lisa said bitterly. We fought each other. We destroyed our own world, almost. The Queen nodded. Yes, and that is why they are returning. Lisa froze. Returning who? The creators? The Queen said, her voice heavy. They have watched from the edge of time, and now they see you reaching for the stars again. They will not allow it a second time. A cold dread settled in Lisa's stomach. So what do we do? The Queen turned back to her eyes blazing with violet fire. We remember, she said, and we fight. But how? Lisa asked. We're just humans. We have nothing compared to you. You have something we lost. The Queen said fiercely. The will to defy fate, the courage to reach beyond your limits. That is why my people have guarded your legacy, all these centuries waiting for someone like you to return. Lisa looked down at her hands, ordinary human hands calloused from years of study and work. Yet now they felt charged with purpose. What do you need me to do? she asked. The Queen stepped closer, and this time Lisa did not flinch. You must awaken the others. She said there are more like you scattered across your world, hidden in plain sight. Their blood still carries the old code. They just need to be reminded. Lisa thought of her colleagues back on Earth. The quiet astronomer who spoke to stars, the engineer who built machines that hummed with strange melodies, the poet who wrote verses in languages no one had ever heard. They had all been drawn to the signal without knowing why. I can find them. Lisa said, "Good," the Queen said, "but there is little time. The Creator's ships have already crossed the veil of the outer rim. They will be here within 3 cycles. 3 days. Lisa translated quickly. The Queen nodded. 3 days to remember who you are and prepare for war. Lisa took a deep breath, then nodded back. I'll do it. The Queen smiled, then for the first time a small sad smile that held centuries of waiting in its curve. Then go, she said, but know this. You are not alone anymore. As Lisa turned to leave the chamber, paused at the door and looked back. The Queen stood alone in the center of the room, bathed in starlight, her silver skin catching the glow of distant suns. Thank you, Lisa said softly. The Queen inclined her head. You are welcome, sister. The word hit Lisa, like a physical force. Sister, not alien, not other, but kin. She walked out of the chamber. Her steps steady now, her fear replaced by a quiet resolve. The ship's corridors hummed around her, alive with energy and purpose. She found her way back to the small shuttle that had brought her here and climbed inside as the engines powered up. She looked out the viewport one last time at the alien city floating in orbit around a gas giant, its towers spiraling toward the heavens like prayers made of light. Then she set a course for Earth. The journey back was quiet. The autopilot handled the navigation while Lisa sat in the cockpit staring at the stars. Not as a scientist now, but as a daughter of them, when the blue curve of Earth finally appeared. On the view screen, she activated the comms and sent a single encrypted message to her closest friends using a phrase, only. They would understand. The sky is singing again. Within hours, replies began to flood in. Some confused, some excited, but all carrying the same undercurrent of recognition. Lisa landed the shuttle in a remote desert location, just as the first rays of dawn painted the horizon in gold. She stepped out onto the sand and breathed in the familiar air of home, but it didn't feel like home anymore, not really. She pulled out a small device. The Queen had given her a memory key shaped like a teardrop and pressed it to her temple. Instantly, her mind filled with coordinates, names, blueprints for machines that bent space and time, and a single command, activate the chorus. She knew what to do. By nightfall, she had gathered 6 others in an abandoned observatory high in the mountains. They stood in a circle holding hands as Lisa placed the memory key, and the center light erupted from it, filling the room with colors that had no name on Earth. One by one, their eyes opened, glowing faintly violet. They remembered, and far above in the silent dark, something ancient stirred, sensing the awakening. It had tried so hard to prevent, but it was too late. The humans were no longer sleeping, and the galaxy would never be the same. Months turned into a year, and Earth changed in quiet ways that felt like miracles. Schools no longer taught history as a list of wars, but as a story of return. Gardens grew food that healed as well as fed, and every child learned to hum the chorus. Before they could speak, Lisa lived in a small dome near the river where the water still shimmered with soft light. She wore no title, but people came to her with questions, not about rules, but about meaning. One morning, a young boy named Leo arrived, his eyes wide with worry. I had a dream, he said, and in it the stars were crying. Lisa knelt beside him and took his small hands in hers. Dreams are messages now, she said. Tell me what you saw. He described a black hole far beyond the edge of known space, not pulling things in but pushing something out. Something old and broken. Lisa's breath caught. She knew that place. It had appeared in her own visions, since the crystal joined with her chest. That night she called Mara, Jake, and Elena. They met under the open sky where the chorus flowed like wind through leaves. It is waking, Mara said after checking the deep space scans. A signal is coming from the void beyond the rim. Not a message, but a pulse like a heartbeat. Jake frowned. It matches the rhythm of the first song, the one Lisa carried. Selena closed her eyes and listened, not with her ears but with her blood. Yes, she whispered. It is calling for help. Lisa looked at her friends. This is not a threat. It is a child. They understood at once the creators had shaped life, but something older had shaped the creators, and that something was in paint. A queen arrived before dawn, her silver ship silent against the pink sky. I felt it too. She said the keepers have old stories of the weaver, the one who spun. The first thread of existence, now that thread is fraying. We have to go, Lisa said. Not we, the queen replied. You must go alone. This is a human song. Only your kind can mend. Yet Lisa did not argue, she knew the truth. The weaver had chosen humanity, not for strength but for compassion. She boarded a small vessel made of memory thread and starlight. No weapons, no shields, just a seat, a window, and the chorus humming in its walls. As she left orbit, Earth's people gathered in open fields and on rooftops. Not to watch but to sing, their voices rose into space, wrapping around her ship like a blanket of light. The journey took 7 days, 7 sleeps, 7 dreams, in each dream. Lisa walked through broken worlds where time had cracked and stars had gone. Blind, but in every place she left a note of the chorus, and the cracks began to heal. On the 8th day she reached the edge. Before her hung the black hole, not dark but swirling with colors that had no name. At its center pulsed the weaver. It was not a being but a presence, like the feeling of dawn or the hush before rain. Lisa opened her ship and stepped into the void. She did not float. She stood as if on solid ground because the weaver made it so. Why did you come? It asked, its voice the sound of galaxies breathing. Because you are alone, Lisa said, and no one should be. The weaver trembled for eons. It had spun the threads of reality, but one thread had snapped, the thread of care. The thread that said someone matters. Without it, the song grew. Cold Lisa reached into her chest, not with her hand but with her will, and pulled out a single note. Pure and warm, she offered it to the weaver. Take it, she said. It is not mine. It belongs to everyone who ever loved someone more than themselves. The weaver took the note and wrapped it around its broken core. Light spread through the void. Not bright but gentle, like a mother's touch. The black hole softened, its pull became a cradle, and the weaver began to sing again. Not a new song but the oldest one. The one that said you are not alone. Lisa returned to Earth, changed not in body but in spirit. Her eyes now held the depth of the void. Yet her smile was softer than ever. When she landed, children ran to her, not with questions but with songs they had made up just for her. The queen waited at the edge of the field. You mended it, the queen said. I reminded it how to mend itself. Lisa replied, in the days that followed, the universe felt different, not safer, but kinder. Distant stars pulsed in time with Earth's chorus. Comets left trails of music as they passed, and even the silence between worlds felt full of listening. Scientists discovered that plants grew faster when sung to in the old tongue. Engineers built bridges that healed their own cracks, and doctors found that holding a patient's hand while humming the chorus could cure fevers in minutes. But the greatest change was in how people saw each other. No one asked where you were from, but what song you carried. Lisa often walked through the settlement, stopping to listen to a child's made-up melody, or to sit with an elder who remembered the time before the sky sang one evening as she stood by the river. Leo found her again. I had another dream. He said this time the stars were laughing. Lisa smiled and ruffled his hair, then laughed with them. That night the chorus rose stronger than ever. Not from one place but from everywhere, from Earth, from Xylos, from 100 newly awakened worlds. And high above, the weaver watched, not as a god but as a friend. The humans had done what even the creators could not. They had turned pain into song and loneliness into love, and the galaxy sang with them, not because they were powerful, but because they cared. And in the end, that was enough.